Emotions, emotional problems, tension, anxiety, mental strain. These words seem to be very common. They're used much more today than they were 50 years ago because our daily life has changed very radically in those 50 years. Not so very long ago, life was relatively placid, tranquil and calm, no great emotional strain. Today we are living in the midst of the greatest social and technical change ever to take place in the history of mankind. The demands of our daily life put an emotional strain on all of us. Hurry, worry, deadlines to meet, bills to pay. When our minds become too preoccupied with too many of these problems, we can easily become the star performer in an accident. Here's an example of how easily emotional problems or worries could lead to an accident. Most of us have had this experience at one time or another.
Sir, you just drove through a stop sign 2 blocks back.
Me? I did?
Yes, sir. That fellow in the black car hadn't been on the ball. You might have killed him. Yeah, I see your license and registration, please.
I don't know why I did it. I've stopped at that sign 100 times. I guess my mind just wasn't on my driving. I must have been thinking about something else.
Right. He was thinking of something else. Perhaps married life isn't turning out right. His new wife isn't adjusting to Army life. Or perhaps his wife is in the hospital with a complicated pregnancy. Could be his first child, or his mother or father is seriously ill. Or it may be a financial problem. Perhaps a new boat and motor he wishes he hadn't bought now that he has unexpected overseas orders. These are the kinds of emotional problems we're concerned about. If that aviator had been flying with something on his mind, he could just as easily have failed to realize that his oil pressure was falling rapidly. But the distracting problems which cause accidents aren't always grim and unpleasant. I drove the first car I ever owned into a tree while daydreaming about an upcoming date with a blonde high school senior. But that was a lucky accident. I wasn't hurt seriously, and I learned a lifelong lesson. Don't daydream while driving or flying. In the files of the Army Board for Aviation Accident Research, there are a number of accidents which have been traced directly to emotional causes. Flight surgeons are the experts for the Army on the emotional aspects of accidents. Colonel Fisher is such an expert. Let's see what we can learn from him.
Good morning, Major.
Good morning, sir. We're interested in how emotional problems can cause accidents.
That's an important subject for aviators.
I thought you might review some of the cases we've had.
Did you have any particular accident in mind?
Yes, sir. I was going to ask about the case we were discussing last week.
The accident in which Lieutenant Webster was killed in an OH-23.
That's right, sir.
It's an excellent example of emotional causes, because it's one of the few cases we've been able to definitely nail down as positively caused by the distraction of an emotional upset. You see, accident investigators may suspect that an emotional disturbance is at least partially responsible for an accident, but rarely do they have sufficient proof to even mention it in their reports. In this investigation, we made a thorough study into the background of the aviator who was killed. We did this because of one fact which was agreed upon by all of the eyewitnesses. When his engine failed at an altitude of about 2,000 feet, Lieutenant Webster apparently did not take any emergency action. The aircraft lost rotor RPM, crashed, and burned. Why would an aviator do this?
He must have panicked, just froze on the controls.
Yes, but why? To try to learn why, we delved into Webster's background, his family, his personality, his problems. Webster was the youngest of 7 brothers and sisters. He was the family favorite, and they were a warm, stable, and closely knit group. Webster was a very independent person. When he made a decision, he stuck to it, sometimes even after he'd been proven wrong. This stubbornness was probably the cause of Webster's first real problem. Webster was divorced several years before the accident, but he stayed in contact with his former wife. He also made several attempts at reconciliation.
And I have to get a few new things for David and Kathy.
How are the kids, Martha?
Oh, they're fine, Bill.
I wish I could see them.
Well, you can any time, Bill. You know that.
I wish I could see you too, Martha.
Bill, please give up. I told you the last time, no. Definitely no. Now, if you don't drop the subject, I'm going to hang up.
Martha, I've learned my lesson. I'm a changed guy.
Bill, you're just as bullheaded as you ever were, or you just wouldn't keep trying.
The frustration of these rejections was difficult for Webster to take. And after each rejection, he burst out aggressively at anyone who disagreed with him. After several years of frustration, he found another girl. But the circumstances of his courtship took a heavy toll on his energy. The girl worked as an entertainer in a nightclub more than 60 miles from his post.
Anything else?
No, nothing else.
Okay.
Bill, I'm worried about you. You shouldn't be driving in every night to meet me.
That's nice. Don't you want to see me?
Sure, I want to see you. But when do you get any sleep?
Sleep. I get 4 or 5 hours before I drive in every night. That's enough. I told you yesterday how we could solve the problem. Marry me, Debbie, then I don't have to drive 120 miles every night to see you.
Bill, I've thought it all over like I said I would.
Yeah?
Well, I just wouldn't fit in. I'm used to theatrical life and excitement and coming and going as I please on my own.
You'd forget all that. I know you would.
Maybe you're right. Maybe I would. But I'm not ready to yet, Bill. I don't want to give it up.
And you don't love me.
I didn't say that, honey.
We'll talk about it later.
Who gets the sandwich?
I do.
Coffee?
Apparently, Webster got himself into a new emotional problem.
That's very often the case. You've noticed how trouble seems to breed more trouble? It really does. When you're under the strain of an emotional problem, you can't think clearly or have good judgment. You get into more trouble very easily.
Was Webster on this 4 or 5 hour sleep routine at the time of the accident?
Yes. Yes, he was. And he wasn't eating properly either. For example, on the day of the accident, he had neither breakfast nor lunch.
It almost looks as if Webster was trying to hurt himself.
As a matter of fact, that may be true. Suicide can't be ruled out as a possibility.
Do you really think so, sir?
Not premeditated suicide. We know his engine failed. But perhaps when the engine quit, he had an irresistible impulse. You might say that suddenly he saw an open door through which he could escape from all of the problems which had been plaguing him.
I can see how that might be possible.
Perhaps suicide never entered his conscious mind. But when the emergency arose, his confusion and panic were so great that he simply couldn't act to save himself.
Well, what can be done about emotional problems, Colonel? How can we keep them from getting out of control?
Probably the best remedy is ventilation.
Ventilation, sir?
Yes. Opening up and letting some air in. Talking to someone. Frustration, anger, and worry cause confusion. Confiding in someone generally brings relief from confusion.
That's true. My wife and I have an agreement. If either of us is angry or worried about something, we talk it out before we go to bed.
It's an excellent idea. Your wife is your partner. She has a right to know about anything that's gnawing at you. And there are 3 other people who have a direct responsibility for listening to your problems and to help with them. Your commanding officer, your chaplain, and your flight surgeon.
So we all know that's true, sir. But the trouble is that a man like Webster, who really needs help, finds it very difficult to confide in anyone.
You're right. And that brings up another factor. COs, chaplains, flight surgeons, and other aviators must learn to detect the signs of emotional disturbance and take action to prevent serious trouble. Let me tell you of another case where there were numerous opportunities to forestall a tragedy which killed an aviator. This young officer started to avoid his friends and was drinking much more than usual. He passed his annual physical, but his flight surgeon was aware of his drinking. He gave the aviator a lecture on the obvious fact that drinking and flying don't mix. But he did not ground him. His CO learned of his drinking and realized that his flying efficiency was falling off. He threatened him with a flying evaluation board. He did not ground him. Not long after this, he filed a VFR flight plan on a circular route to avoid severe weather. Two hours after takeoff, he crashed 40 miles from his circular route and on a direct route to his destination. Obviously, he had filed the circular route merely to obtain clearance. He flew a direct route in spite of weather warnings and terrain unsuitable for emergency landing.
It's a shame he wasn't grounded.
He's beyond grounding now. Beyond all help. And no one even knows what it was that was tormenting him. Everyone with authority over aviators must realize that flying is a business that challenges your ego. Aviators can ground themselves, but they won't do it. If one of your men starts drinking too much, or is grossly depressed, or overly elated, ground him first, then lecture him.
If we can get that point across, we'll have come a long way. Well, thank you very much, sir. You've pretty well wrapped up the subject for us. We can sum it all up this way. As an aviator, you must realize that a serious emotional problem can be just as much of a hindrance to flying as a broken arm might be. Those you can turn to for help are members of your own team, all of them personally involved with your well-being. Your CO is responsible for your military capability. Your chaplain is responsible for your peace of mind and spiritual welfare. Your flight surgeon is responsible for your physical and psychological well-being. These are the men you can unburden yourself to. Perhaps like the TV commercials, we should end with a slogan you can use when your mind's jamming up. Talk it out. Don't bottle it up.
Talk it out. Don't bottle it up. Charles Grodin. Young Charles Grodin in that. Charles Grodin, who somebody pointed out was in the Beethoven movies, The Incredible Shrinking Woman, L.A. Story, I think is that right? He's in a bunch of movies. He shows up a lot in TV shows. So he's a seasoned actor. And I didn't do the research to see if he actually was in the military and this was one of his gigs. But it's a fascinating film. Somebody pointed out it's very similar to Last Prom as far as the Tina side, the emotional aspect of it. This also pops up in Bicycle Clown. It's the emotional aspects of a kid who's feeling reckless because of what's going on in his life. And also What Made Sammy Speed. All these deal with the emotions associated with life and then operating some sort of vehicle causing an accident. So really fascinating. This next film is another Alfred Higgins film. We showed Alfred Higgins yesterday. Oh yeah, I'm Skip Alzheimer, by the way. I collect old films and blab on about them. And for some reason you guys tune in and listen to me blab on. So thank you for that. This next film is Alfred Higgins. Courtesy Counts a Lot. Enjoy.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, who forgot? I did not, because courtesy counts a lot. Hello, how are you? Fine, thank you. How are you? So, who forgot? I did not, because courtesy counts a lot.
Because this is your birthday,
You may have as much cake.
And ice cream as you want. Oh, I think I ate too much. May I please be excused?
yes, you may, dear.
So, who forgot? I did not, because courtesy counts a lot. Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la.
How would you like it if I turned you into a toad?
Ribbit.
No, thank you.
Very well.
So, who forgot? I did not, because courtesy counts a lot. Boy, this is boring. Nothing around but a silly fly. I wish I had someone to play with.
Look who we've brought home.
Yes, Raymond, this is our new friend Sam.
How do you do? I'm happy to meet you. Who forgot? I did not, because courtesy counts a lot.
Please excuse me.
That's all right.
So, who forgot? I did not, because courtesy counts a lot. beg your pardon. That's all right. So, who forgot? I did not, because courtesy counts a lot. Oh, I'm so thirsty. Please. Please help me. Please. Thank you very much. So, who forgot? I did not, because courtesy counts a lot. Please pass the fried chicken. Sure, I'll be glad to. Thank you. Courtesy always counts a lot.
Gee, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have pushed ahead.
That's all right. That's all right. You won't do it again.
Gee, thanks.
So, who forgot? I did not, because courtesy counts a lot. Courtesy counts a lot.
So that film did not test very well with my audience. Was it the poor animation? Was it the song? What was it that made that film just not work on any level? I thought it was like, oh, it's kind of fanciful and whatever, but nope, didn't work. And, would it work with kids back in 70s? I don't know. Early 80s? Maybe. Yeah. All right. Well, they're not all winners. We know that by now, hopefully. This next one is, so this is coming up on Saturday. We're going to be doing a home movie day. And this is something I've been doing for 18 years and more recently have been doing multiple times a year in different locations. And because of the pandemic, we're doing it virtually, which means that you get to participate. Normally you have to go somewhere and see it, but we're actually going to broadcast it. So you guys can tune in, play home movie day bingo, etc. And that's going to be Saturday at 1 o'clock until 3. But I love home movies. Home movies are like educational films. They cover things in our culture that aren't necessarily addressed in feature films or TV shows. They capture things and talk about things visually that we kind of forget about. So home movies, while they're important to the family because it captures the family, it's also culturally significant because sometimes home movies capture what a downtown looked like, capture some sort of ritual or some sort of event. So here is some raw footage of Perry Street School. And I don't know where Perry Street is. where Perry Street School is. Maybe somebody can Google it and find out, but here we go. This is, I got this on eBay. I'm not sure what it was meant for, if it was meant to document what was happening at the school, or if it's just like somebody brought a camera to the classroom and shot stuff and then showed it later. So here's Perry Street School, and it's silent. So that's fascinating. Some people have said they think it was in D.C., but I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. That last photo doesn't match with any Perry Street school that I found, but I did like there's the teacher got some film strips at the end. That's pretty awesome. So why does this exist? Like I said, it could be a promotional thing. It could be something that a parent or a teacher said, hey, I bought this equipment. I want to document the school where I work or the school where my kids go, or, things like that show up all the time, especially in school collections. It's pretty surprising. I'll get a bunch of educational films and then I'll get oh, what's this? This is a home movie, or this is a student production, or this is, something that a local business had that they donated to the school because they had a film library. So, educational films from schools aren't always just educational films. So that's kind of fascinating. All right, this next film is part of the Encyclopedia Britannica Magic Moments series. So this is when Encyclopedia Britannica went from being very stodgy and stale to being a little wacky. This came out in 1969. There were younger filmmakers who were supposedly influenced by lots of interesting experimental foreign film, and also maybe other substances that helped augment their experience. So, including this countdown. This film countdown is so great. So here we go. Hands Grow Up.
Good boy. It doesn't hurt you. That's good.
So, those weird little those could be cues for the teacher to stop the projector to discuss what the scenes that they just saw. Although it's like at the beginning of the, so I don't know. Yeah, so we see a little kid doing something, and then we see a comparative thing that adults do with their hands. And, you know, that's obviously the point of this. This one is a little bit more straightforward than some of the others in this series, which are just crazy. I'm talking about Toes Tell, and there's others. I will definitely be showing more of these as we keep going on, because they are wacky. Oh yeah, so thank you, Have a Ham, for the coffee. He went to this link and he bought us some coffee because caffeine is what keeps AV Geeks chugging along. So thank you for that. This was in the can of the film that we just showed. It says, "Do not rewind after last screening. Leave end showing." Now, why did they say that? That is because they are, the library would get the film back and then they would do an inspection when they rewound it. I have a big film inspector, which I'm on my third of those because they keep breaking and then you can't really replace the parts. They're super heavy. They're giant, like big desks that are metal and wood and I accidentally dropped one on my toe, the first one I got, and lost a toenail for about 4 months. Anyways, what you can do is you set them up, and they can actually find splices and defects. And so you would rewind it, and also some of them have cleaners on them, so you could clean them as you're rewinding. And then they would assess, and then they would put that little sticker, which some of you got as a button. Let's see if I can find it. On the film that says electronically inspected. And then you would know when you pulled out a film, it would have a list of when it was last inspected and cleaned. And then, you would know that the next person who gets it is getting it fixed. So that if they broke it, then they'd get in trouble. So there's the whole reason for they didn't want you to rewind. And they also knew that some teachers who didn't know what they were doing would rewind it back through the projector, and that is a way to just completely shred the film. There's a way to just run it straight across and not through the projector, which is what you're supposed to do, but this is a way to kind of kill a couple of birds with one stone. So there you go. That's more than you probably ever wanted to know about why this piece of paper exists. All right, let's see. What do we got next? This one's about rules, laws, and you. And at the beginning, you'll see some weird kind of like noise. Wow, this web thing is all backwards, so it's hard for me to correspond. So you'll see like weird blah here, and that is water damage. Basically, water seeped in. I had, during Hurricane Fran, many, many years ago, my films were in a basement, and the basement flooded, and a bunch of films, probably 200 or 300, got wet. And so some of them survived and only got a little wet because they were airtight or for whatever reason. But yeah, that's what that water damage is you'll see on the left side of the screen. So it's emulsion that's kind of getting wet, and then it's sticking to the back of the base and all that stuff. So more behind the scenes stuff that maybe you don't care about. But here we go. Rules, laws, and you.
Rules and laws. Where do they come from? Why do we have them? Are they really necessary? Rules and laws have been with us from early times when men began living together in groups. Many years ago, people like the Hopi Indians made rules. When a Hopi broke a rule, the rest of the tribe punished him by not talking to him. In the days of the Wild West, robberies and other forms of law-breaking were common. But as the West became more civilized, people made rules so they could live together more peacefully. Safe from lawbreakers. As towns and cities grew larger, people made more rules to protect their lives and property. Important rules became laws, and then courts were needed to explain the meaning of the laws and to deal with lawbreakers. Our civilization has come a long way since the West was wild. Today we have laws and police departments to help us enforce them. Our police officers are always ready to aid and protect us, day or night. Rules are made by people like us. The members of this club are meeting to make some new rules. One of their present rules is no longer useful, so the members are voting to change it. Who makes rules? All of us. Our government, our teachers, our parents. Getting home on time is an important rule in almost every family. If you're late, especially after dark, your parents will worry about your safety. And someone else just may get your dinner. We have a similar rule about being prompt at school and at work. How much would we accomplish if no one got to school or work on time? Rules are needed in all kinds of games. When the players follow the rules, the game will go smoothly. Then it's more fun, and everyone has an equal chance to win. There are rules for playing outdoors, too. The rule of throwing rocks makes sense. A wild pitch may cause you a lot of trouble. Or worse yet, someone might get hurt. Have you ever been hit because someone broke this rule? There are rules at school, too. Here's what could happen during a fire drill. But when we follow the rules, and leave in a quiet and orderly manner, everyone gets out of the building quickly and safely. On the playground, we play games for fun and exercise. Rules are a necessary part of almost every sport and game. When you have a race, would it be fair if one boy were allowed to start before the signal? How would you know who really won? And at the pool, what if swimmers didn't look to see if the diving area were clear before leaving the board? This safety rule prevents many accidents. In all games and sports, it's more fun when the players know and follow the rules. Today, traffic is a problem in most of our towns and cities. That's why we make rules and laws about crossing the street. Taking turns at traffic signals helps everyone get around safely. Accidents like this can happen when our traffic laws are broken. This is a police station in one of our big cities. When boys and girls under 18 break the law, they're usually taken to the juvenile division. This is Jimmy Smith. Jimmy is in trouble. He took something today that didn't belong to him. A catcher's mitt. Jimmy is catcher on his Little League team. The big game of the season is next Saturday, and he thought he'd play a lot better if he had a new mitt. This is the store owner who spotted Jimmy taking the mitt. And this is Jimmy's dad. Jimmy has broken a law, and his name is being entered on police records. Taking something that isn't yours, even though it doesn't cost much, is against the law and often leads to breaking other laws. Jimmy has to give the glove back to the shopkeeper. Jimmy's father and the officer decide on Jimmy's punishment. He won't get to play in the big game next Saturday. The officer tells Jimmy if he stays out of trouble, his record will be destroyed. But if he breaks the law again, it's likely he'll have to go before a judge, and his punishment will probably be a lot worse. Jimmy thinks this has been the worst day of his life and decides it really doesn't pay to break the law. Rules and laws are made by all of us for our own benefit. They protect our lives and our property. They help us agree about how things should be done. And they make playing and working together a lot more fun. What do you think would happen if we forgot all of our rules and laws for just one day?
Pretty heavy. Pretty heavy. So somebody on Facebook, where is this? Who is it? Mike Quintero thinks he found Percy Street School in Belvedere, Illinois. I'm going to look and do a little bit of research, but that's pretty awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Mike, for that. Okay, one last film. This one's about emotional maturity. Something that we could all learn about, I guess. Here it is. Enjoy.
Why don't we talk about it tonight? I'll pick you up early. Around 7:30, we'll go to an early show and... Come on, Jill, don't look so serious.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about, Dave. I can't go out with you tonight.
Well, what gives anyway? You got a family party on or something?
No, it's nothing to do with the family. I don't know how to say this, Dave, but... I'm dating Jimmy Dawson.
Give me that again?
I'm dating Jimmy Dawson.
That show off? Who thinks he's such a big football hero? What's the idea? You falling for his phony shoulders or something?
He asked me to go out with him, that's all, and I said I would.
What about the little matter of going steady with me?
I decided it's time we broke up. It's stupid for kids our age to keep going out with the same person year after year.
I guess your mother thought up that line.
She did not. I can make up my own mind. Look, I told Jimmy that I'd meet him after school this afternoon. He's waiting for me right down over by the corner, so I better go now.
I guess a guy has to have a car to impress a girl like you. Along with some phony shoulders. Well, your boyfriend better watch out. Because he might meet a guy with a Cadillac someday. And then where'll he be?
We don't beat Western, we still have a mathematical chance of getting in the playoffs.
How come?
Well, you see, we're one game up on them now.
What are you going to
do? Our games with Lincoln High. Western still has a game with them.
And they haven't beaten Lincoln all year.
That's right. That's what I say.
Isn't that
Pretty good guy, don't he? Hi, fellas.
Hello, Dave. How's it going?
Man, lousy English exam, old man. Peterson sprung on us today, huh?
Yeah, lousy is right. I never even knew there was such a thing as George and poets. How was I supposed to name him?
I put down George. I figured there ought to be at least one Georgian poet named George.
Boy, Peterson will get you for that. He's still mad about the time you brought him the bunch of daffodils after we studied that poem about daffodils by Wordsworth.
Yeah.
Peterson's crazy about me.
Hey. Is that the new sophomore?
Yeah. You never guessed she was only 14?
Telling me. Wow.
Say, Dave, what happened to your steady? There she is with Jim Dawson.
Got a fight. Dawson has a car, and boy, does it ever impress that doll.
Yeah, it's those flashy white wall tires that send her, man.
She wants to get into the big time, Davy boy. Captain of the football team and all that.
Well, I was getting kind of sick of her anyway. That Dawson, what a show-off. You know, he really thinks he's somebody? Well, as far as I'm concerned, they deserve each other.
Hey, Dave, how come you didn't turn out to football practice all week?
Because I quit the crummy team, that's why. Coach, he doesn't know what he's doing, and the team's going downhill so fast it isn't even funny. I'm going over to see what gives with the new doll.
Did you hear about Dave? Coach left him on the bench during the whole of last Saturday's game. Boy, was Dave mad. He quit the team right the next day.
He hasn't anything to be sore about. He thinks the team can't get along without him. He's kidding himself. Let's face it, he's just not that good.
Well, they beat us 3 out of 4, but we're a lot better than we were then. They hit their peak just about that time, and I don't think they've gotten any better.
Hi, Jill. Hi, Dave.
Oh, hi. Boy, I'm really outnumbered now. I gotta go, Jill. I'll see you tonight. About 8?
Sure.
So long.
I thought you went steady with Dave Forsythe.
Gee, I always thought Dave was cute. He's okay. He acts like a kid, though. But he's so funny in class. You should go out with him. All those wild tricks were so funny.
I always thought Dave acted like a kid, too. You can only take so much of that fooling around.
Honest, he's like a big baby the way he shows off. You should have seen him last Monday in the hall at school.
Hey, Dawson, I'd like to speak to you for a minute.
Sure, Dave.
I guess you think you're pretty smart playing up to the coach last Saturday and getting him to leave me out of the game.
Oh, now, wait a minute. You got your wires crossed, boy.
Who are you trying to kid? I saw you talking to the coach just before the game, and I could see you looking straight at me. Pretty dirty trick fixing it so I couldn't play.
Dave, for Pete's sake.
We were talking about the new play, Dave. We didn't mention you once.
Oh, come off it, Forsythe. You know, it's possible the coach doesn't think you're good enough.
I know a dirty deal when I see one.
Nah, you're nuts.
It was awful. I was so embarrassed I nearly died. This wasn't the first time that Dave acted like that either. I was really fed up. And then, well, Jimmy asked me to go out with him a couple of days later, and I thought it'd be terrific. He's so nice. Well, he acts his age. Are you going to go steady with Jimmy now? Oh, I don't know. This is the first time I've gone out with him.
I don't blame you for telling Dave off. He's an awful mama's boy. Gee, I gotta be going.
Yeah, me too.
Can't you say excuse me to your mother for being late?
I'm sorry, Mom. Excuse me.
Your mother can't keep dinner waiting just because you feel like hanging around the streets a little longer.
I said I was sorry, didn't I?
It's just another indication of your constant thoughtlessness and irresponsibility.
Say, Dad, do you think I could have the car tonight? I'll take real good care of it, and I'll fill it up with gas when I bring it back.
What do you want with the car?
Gee, Dad, girls won't go out with a fella unless he's got a car.
I think Jill Anderson out long enough without a car.
Well, she left me for a guy with a car.
Who's that, dear?
Oh, that crummy show-off, Jim Dawson.
He's a good boy, young Dawson. And I understand from his father that he saved his money and bought that car himself.
Dad, are you going to let me have the car or not?
No, I am not. You're too young to be running around in cars at night with girls.
I'm 16, aren't I? I've got a license. What's the sense of having a license if you can't drive the car?
Why don't you let him use it this once, Fred? It's true. Boys nowadays need cars to take girls out. All the mothers say so. Well, this afternoon at Lucy Fillmore's, they were saying that...
Look, Lila, you know I need that car in my work. Now, if he got in an accident, what would I do? Anyway, what does he do with all the money he makes at the grocery store? Let him save his money and buy a car just like young Dawson.
All I ever hear around here is money. I'm getting sick and tired of it. I never get to do anything the other kids do. And the excuse you always give me is money.
All right, that's about enough, young man. I didn't come home from a hard day's work just to get impertinence from you.
You always treat me as though I were about 6 years old.
That's because you act like you were 6 years old.
Fred.
Lila, something has got to be done about that boy. He's unstable, he's irresponsible, can't save money, he's girl crazy. Why, when they wouldn't let him play in Saturday's game, he quit the squad.
Fred, sit down. Stop being so excited. He's young. Things like having a car mean a lot to him. Oh, maybe I've babied him, but... You know, Fred, you haven't always set the best example for him. Being your son, he wants to be like you. He wants to copy you. And you have to admit you blow your top awfully easily sometimes. Like tonight. You bawled him out without even asking him why he was late. And lately, you've nagged him from morning till night. Can't you say something nice to him once in a while?
I can't seem to get near the boy.
You expect too much of him. I wish you'd arrange something nice for the two of you. Something you could do together. Couldn't you get together for a Saturday?
Lila, I don't mean to be hard on the boy. Really. Look, I'll try to think up something that we can do together. And in the meantime, how about you going up and talking to him about being more responsible? Frankly, his attitude worries me.
Dave, dear, don't be so upset. You must try to understand how your father feels about the car. You know, perhaps if you saved up some of the money yourself, he'd help you buy one.
He won't help me with anything. Doesn't trust me. I wouldn't hurt his crummy old car. Always acts as though I was a dumb kid.
Well, Dave, you should show him you're responsible. Lately, you've been awfully rebellious. You know how angry it makes him.
Never notices anything good I do. Just yells all the time.
I wish you wouldn't be like this. Well, I'll leave your dessert in the refrigerator for you. Well, I certainly didn't get very far. He can be terribly stubborn. You know, Fred, he said you never notice when he tries to please you. Sometimes I wonder if we don't set up standards that are just a little too high for him. And then when he can't come up to them, he gets angry and snaps at everyone. I think he's really anxious to please you.
I think I'll go up and have a talk with him. See if I can't work something out.
Dave, I'm sorry about our argument, but I wish you'd try to see my point of view about this car business. Look, since you won't be with the team Saturday, how'd you like to see the game with me?
No, thank you.
What do you mean, no, thank you? Look, I've had about all I can take from a young brat like you. Despite your bad behavior, I came up here and tried to be friends. I even apologized. You didn't even try to respond like a human being. Something's going to be done about you.
Dad, this is Jimmy.
Jimmy, how are you? Nice to see you.
Hello, Mr. Anderson.
It's quite a car you've got there.
Yeah, it's a real bomb, sir.
Well, I hope when you drive it as a car, not as a bomb.
Oh, Jimmy's a good driver, Dad.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Why don't we go ahead and sit over there for a while?
Okay.
Okay. Let's go.
Oh, yes, Mr. Anderson. What's that?
How did Dave get into a situation like this? It seems impossible. But Dave was emotionally unstable. He didn't think straight about what he was doing. Why can't Dave face facts and accept life as it is? Why does he have such an exaggerated idea of his own importance and ability that he can't see things as they are? Because he can't fit the real world into his unreal idea of how it should be, he is so frustrated that he loses control of himself. With help, Dave can learn to control these emotions and develop more mature attitudes. But how could his emotional instability have been prevented?
So that one is another Crawley film. Crawley was Canadian, and they did a lot of films for the Young Americas series and the McGraw-Hill. They also did stuff for National Film Board of Canada. And it's another film that ends with a teenager like pumping their fist, like banging their fist on crying on a bed. Social Acceptability, I feel like, has that too. Or at least has the teen crying on the bed at the end because of what has happened. So high drama, really great, just kind of sucked right in. And it kind of works really well with the first film that I showed, Lessons Learned from Aircraft Accidents. That drama that drives somebody to do something drastic or potentially drastic. I hope that you don't have to go through that today. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Thanks for the coffee. You know, you can donate coffee to AV Geeks and we will drink it. Somebody asked me what this shirt is. It's Shopson's General Store, which is a little restaurant in New York City in the East Village. I think it's on Essex Street now. It's run by a friend of mine's family, and it's really amazingly good food. And they're open. I think they just do takeout. But phenomenal, huge comfort food sandwiches and soups, and it's really, really great. So if you're in the city, you can go there and order and have some really amazingly good food. And it's the type of meal that you could have like in the morning, and it will carry you through lunch because they're pretty high caloric intake, lots of delicious ingredients. Anyways, yeah, look them up on the web. They're great. There's actually a documentary about Kenny, the kind of patriarch who has since passed. It's called I Like Killing Flies. It's a pretty great watch. Yes, so anyways, see everybody tomorrow. Thanks again for tuning in. And if you like what you saw, hit like, tell your friends, blah, blah, blah. I just realized I didn't change the date on the little thing here that's hovering near my head. And Saturday, 1 o'clock, 1 to 3, we're going to be showing home movies from folks locally in Raleigh and in Durham that we've been digitizing over the last 2 weeks. And that's always a lot of fun. And we'll play Home Movie Day Bingo, which if you have not played, is a fun way to watch home movies. And we'll have prizes. I haven't figured out what the prizes are, but we'll figure that out. As a reminder, sometimes the wisdom found in a film can is to please rewind, which is opposite from what that one film can said. So different libraries had different requirements. But it's implied that we should love each other and have a happy face with eyelashes. Everybody have a good rest of the day, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.